Welcome to the AXA Campus Tour, where every week we take you to another part of the state, talk with a school leader about the successes and challenges their school community is dealing with during this COVID-19 pandemic, and we talk about the next biggest challenge that their entire school community is facing. Joining us today is Gail Garbolino Mojica, who is the Placer County Superintendent of Schools and the first county superintendent to join us on the show. Gail, thanks so much for being with us.
Pleasure.
So we've had state agencies, CDE, CDPH, they have come out with their guidance, their suggestions on how to reopen schools. We've had counties do exactly the same thing. Placer County is so diverse and so unique. You have large suburban districts, you have smaller, you have rural, a lot of unique school communities to have to work with. How do you and your teammates put together a plan, suggestions, guidance, while respecting every single school community and what makes up their school community as far as reopening schools?
I think one of the issues that we were faced early on is at the end of February, when we found out that the CDC was alerting the communities to their school districts to look at their pandemic response. We knew at that point that we needed to get ahead of this. And we collaboratively brought all of our school district superintendents together at the end of February with our health officer and started to have meetings. And we've been having those meetings consistently every single week with our charter school leaders and our school district superintendents and our public health officer to actually tackle a lot of these issues. We closed together as a county. We made the collective decision that we were going to close as a county together. But we've been very open and transparent with our communities and said that every single part of Placer County is very different. In the Tahoe Basin, they don't have the type of outbreak that you would see in the south part of our county. So we've been telling people that we're going to have a one size fits all as far as reopening is not what we're looking at in Placer County. We're looking at more of a response that fits the local community and the jurisdiction that each school lies in. So as much as I'd like to say there'll be similarities, and I think that there will be similarities, it's not going to be in Placer County. We are opening schools, and every single one of our school districts and charter schools are going to have the same philosophy and the same response.
Got it. Legislature going to come out with their budget this week, and the word is that it's more advantageous for public education than the May revision that Governor Newsom had last month. We know negotiations are going to be taking place at the Capitol over the next few weeks as we head towards that constitutional deadline to have a budget. Knowing that, what have districts told you as far as the budget that the governor put out in January, the May revision, what may come out in the next couple of weeks with regard to being able to reopen schools?
You know, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect, and the disconnect lies within the guidance from the California Department of Public Health and the CDE guidance, which talks a lot about alternative schedules and social distancing and how are you going to be educating students, when in reality, we don't have the funds necessary to even carry out that guidance. It is incredibly expensive to look at an alternative schedule. Just look at busing, for example. If you were going to do a morning and an afternoon session, you would have to send your buses out twice when you would normally only send them out once. The idea that we're going to have to social distance on a bus, I mean, a normal bus that consists of maybe 60 students is now going to only consist of maybe 20 or less than 20. So you're going to have more bus runs. So I just use busing as an example of it's a complete disconnect. In order to carry out the guidance, we're not going to have the funds necessary to do that. And the same with the instructional program as well. It's good. There's going to be a lot more required of our staff to carry out. We're going to need to have class sizes as small as the guidance was mentioning. We're going to need more spaces, more facility space. We don't have extra facility space in schools. It's just it doesn't add up.
Ultimately, schools are going to reopen, whether it's all in person or it's all distance learning or there's some type of hybrid. In your position as the Placer County Superintendent of schools, you have to have a broad look at everything that's happening in all of your unique school communities. With that broad look, once we get past school reopenings, what is the next big challenge in Placer County? What do you see as that next big roadblock that you have to maneuver around?
So I'm going to deviate and say there's two aside from one. And I think we need to figure out this budget scenario first and foremost. LCFF was implemented in what year? 13, 14. And the goal was that by the end of the 8 years, we were going to be at the 07, 08 levels. And we were celebrating that. Why are we celebrating the fact that public education in this state is woefully behind what's happening in the rest of the nation? Why are we celebrating that, yay, we got fully funded in LCFF to 07, 08 levels, and we're in the school year 1920 or now 2021? That makes no sense to me. I think we need to have a concerted effort to increase the base funding for all school districts in the state of California. I do believe that concentration and supplemental funding is necessary, and it takes additional funds in those communities to provide a high quality education. But we can't lose sight of the fact that we need increased base funding. And I think a second area would be, we as a state have made tremendous advances in the area of digital learning and online learning and distance learning. And historically, our state has required us to choose. Either you're in class 5 days a week or you're on independent study. And if you're on independent study, then you have maybe greater access to distance learning. We have got to figure out a way. And we've been successful this year in being able to transition so many students to a hybrid program. So I think that we need to really look at distance learning in the future, that it does work for some families. It does work for some students. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing, that you could still have a high quality program where students are accessing instruction from a credentialed teacher a couple of days a week or a couple of periods a day, but there's still a place for them to have distance learning. And we got to figure that out too in the state of California.
Gail Garbarino Mojica is the Placer County Superintendent of Schools. Gail, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And thank you folks for being with us here on the AXA Campus Tour. Remember, every week we take you to another part of the state. We talk with a school leader about the successes and challenges they are experiencing in their school community. That comes your way every Tuesday here on the AXA Campus Tour.